on Glassdoor. Just a couple webinar tips for all of you. You can connect to audio using your mic and speakers or just simply by dialing in using your telephone. All lines will be muted just to avoid that background noise. And if you have any questions at any time, feel free to enter them into the question pane. And I'll try to get to as many as possible by the end of the session. All right, so let me introduce myself. My name is Shay Berry. I'm a Senior Marketing Manager here at Glassdoor. I'm here today to talk to you about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is employer branding. I love talking about employer branding, and I actually spend most of my days at Glassdoor marketing the importance of your employer brand, and I'm here today to tell you how reviews kind of factor into that brand and how you can effectively manage them. I also love to tell stories, as many of my colleagues can attest to. So I want to give you as many examples of companies that are really telling their company stories well on Glassdoor and how that contributes to them managing their reputation. So with all of those things, my real main goal today is to just really give you one or two key takeaways that you can go back to your company today and start doing right away. So let's go ahead and quickly go over our agenda. So I want to start out just by going quickly through a Glassdoor overview, just for those that may not be as familiar with the review process. So a lot of people also ask us, how do I get started? Who should respond? And I want to talk about who those appropriate people would be. And then, of course, wrap up with some tips that you can take and start doing right away when it comes to responding to negative reviews. I want to make you feel very confident tackling these by the end of our short and sweet 30-minute session. I'm already seeing a question come in as well. Will a slide deck be offered afterwards and the recording? Absolutely. I will make sure I get this to you guys as soon as possible this afternoon. All right. So let's just start off with how you can get started on Glassdoor and what the first thing you should do is. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what a free employer account is. That is the most basic first step that any company can take to get started on Glassdoor. This is really how you claim your territory and your space on Glassdoor, and that will allow you to start to engage with our community. You can also set up company alerts. So anytime employees or candidates post content to your profile, you will be notified. Through a free employer account, you can also flag reviews. So if you feel that a review does not meet our community guidelines, you can definitely flag that. It'll go back through our review process, and I'll talk to that a little bit in the future. You can also monitor your reputation. So this free employer account really helps you uncover key themes and what's going on at your company. Maybe there's some areas that could use a little bit of work. You can also invite colleagues to respond. So once you have a free employer account, it's easy to invite coworkers to join that conversation. So it's not just you, that's taking this all on yourself. All right, next slide. So just really quickly, this is an intro to a review on Glassdoor. We know that you can use reviews to find out more about your company, its reputation. It's rated out of 5 stars. There's these categories on the left-hand side that different current and past employees can rate you on. We have tons of content about this too, you guys, so if you want more information about how to get started with reviews and kind of some review basics, we have a video and just some awesome content that I can absolutely share with you. So I just kind of want you to consider this your first impression for many of your potential candidates. All right, and now I kind of want to kick things off with a thought that I had, and I actually turned it into a blog post, and then that sort of inspired this webinar. So think about this. Are bad reviews necessarily bad? This is a question I think we should all kind of think about. Sometimes getting that constructive criticism can really sting. Nobody really wants to hear bad things about themselves or their companies when you work so hard to make them the best they can be. So your immediate reaction may be to get defensive, sometimes offended, but what we have found is that bad reviews can actually be good for business. So look at the stat on the screen. 95% of consumers trust reviews more when they see both good and bad reviews. So that's powerful. People are looking for complete information. If they notice that maybe there's no bad reviews, they can start to become suspicious and maybe assume that you might be censoring some of the feedback. So think about this: if you're not losing job seekers by showing them bad reviews, you're actually steering them towards the jobs and companies that won't disappoint them. So give them that transparent look. Think about if you've ever used a website such as TripAdvisor, for instance, and you see a perfect hotel that has 5 out of 5 ratings and not one thing wrong. You kind of start to think, what's going on here? This doesn't seem exactly authentic. So utilize reviews, to make your company a better place, and your response can be super powerful when it comes to recruiting, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. So why respond to a negative review? So 46% of Glassdoor members are reading reviews when they've just started their job search. So they haven't even spoken to a company recruiter, a person in charge of hiring. That means almost half of Glassdoor members will resort to reading reviews before they even speak to you or someone at their company. So first impressions are everything, right? Responses to a review may actually be the first thing a candidate sees before the recruitment process starts. So, demonstrate to job seekers, current and former employees, that you're interested in their feedback and that you take their satisfaction seriously. You want to know what they have to say. So this is actually even more important when it comes to negative reviews. So if a candidate sees, that maybe somebody didn't have the best experience, they left a review, the company wasn't the right fit, and that you responded, it shows them you're engaged, you care, and that you're really willing to change. So let me just quickly breeze through a couple things that we get asked about all the time. So who should respond? So really, this could be anybody at your company who's in a position to speak on your behalf, or as an accessible company representative. So this could include, we really love to see CEOs respond. So if you can get your CEO to respond, that's great. Maybe a PR or marketing professional or other employees that are responsible for managing your brand. I really want to note that this should really be the appropriate contact, because the person who responds title will appear right next to their response. So make sure if it's like a sales executive that leaves a review, maybe it would be appropriate to have your VP of sales, just somebody that's kind of in the know with what they're going through, maybe the same department. So think about that. Also, this may seem a little common sense, maybe even silly, but please check for typos. We want to remind you that once the response is live, it's live, and you are unable to edit that. So I really want to make sure that you're pleased with it. You can even throw it into a Word document. Just scan it, take it seriously. Just take an extra minute to check for any of those pesky typos. Another thing we just talked about, make sure your job title is correct. This is huge because sometimes there can be errors. So I really encourage you to log into the Employer Center. And what that Employer Center is, we've talked about this really quickly. It's where employers can go to control the content on your profile. So make sure all that information is accurate, updated. You don't want a typo in your job title. Just make sure you got it right before you respond. Another one is, how often should I respond? So we talked a little bit about setting up alerts earlier, but if you set up alerts, you'll know the instant that some fresh reviews are posted. Pick a schedule that works for you. If this is weekly, if it's monthly, just set apart that time to comb through reviews. I actually think this is a great step. So 90% of job seekers find employer perspective useful when learning about jobs and companies. So when they can see that you're engaging your brand and that you have really put some thought and effort into making sure that content is updated, they find that super powerful, and just they seek the truth. So as long as you put, information that accurately represents your brand, that's great. And just make sure it's updated. Just take the time. Take the time to browse through some of your reviews. Take the time to make sure your company description is correct. Just take the time to update that. Alrighty, so now into the good stuff. So I want to walk through 5 tips to follow when responding to reviews and negative reviews, kind of trying to emphasize the negative here because I know that's something that we've all have seen, something we all need to learn how to deal with. So tip number 1. So be professional. And I know that seems, again, like common sense, but other candidates, besides the person that left the review, will be reading your responses when they're browsing through your Glassdoor profile. You're responding also on behalf of your company. So make sure that you're professional. Use this as a way to, show that you're caring. Take a neutral stance. So also, just another disclaimer, if you believe the person that posted this was out of line, others will also come to that conclusion, and they'll often find the same thing. So this is your opportunity to show that you're gracious and understanding and that, you'd like to take the time to respond. Also, another piece of advice, take a deep breath. Maybe even sleep on it for a night. I know this seems like a lot, but you don't want to respond right away when you first see that because you might, have a little bit of defensiveness and maybe even take it personally a little bit. So just take a moment and really think about that review and what it's providing you. At Glassdoor, we take a neutral stance. We don't act as the finder of fact. So if there is something that is completely fabricated or, completely slanderous, you always have the opportunity as an employer to flag that review. So I really encourage you to do that. I can also walk you through that a little bit later. So responding to a negative review shows that you care. I love this stat. I think this is just super powerful. So 71% of consumers are likely to recommend your brand to others if they experience a quick and effective response. So this is just so important to me because it means that just by responding, regardless of what you put in there, regardless of what you say, you're changing the perception of over 2/3 of your audience. And I think that's just huge. So this stat to me just really shows the effectiveness and how powerful it is to responding to negative reviews. Let me show you one of these stories I like to talk about. So I want to give you as many examples as possible. So Chipotle, this is a great example. You can see in this response that they received a negative review. They start by thanking the reviewer, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but they also recognize that Glassdoor reviews are anonymous. They offered an outlet for the employee to go to so Chipotle could actually address the particular issue. They're showing that they care. They even offered to actually take this conversation offline. So they show they want to improve the situation. This is just a great example. And this feeds into our next tip, say thank you. This may also seem like a no-brainer, but saying thank you shows that you are listening. You are set in a position to be gracious and professional. I'll show you another case study about this in a minute. But saying thank you, sometimes we forget to do it, and that's so important. Like I said, it shows that you're listening. I love the stat, too. So 83% of organizations suffer from a deficit in recognition, according to a recent Burson study. So, it shows that you're recognizing, you're listening, you're aware. I would just highly recommend that you do this. It shows you're engaging with employees and candidates, and that just shows appreciation. So here's this awesome case study. Spencer Rascoff, the CEO of Zillow, actually told us a little bit ago that he responds to reviews all the time. And he even tweeted, using a few minutes of downtime to read and respond to reviews on Glassdoor. He does this on a weekly basis. So he does this typically every Friday. So what Spencer did not want us to share is actually that responding to these reviews can help you recruit. We've all heard of the war for talent and that it's just so more competitive than ever. So responding to reviews can actually help you stand out from the pack. And what I mean to that is, as a result, when Spencer started effectively and efficiently responding to reviews, he shared with us that 4 candidates in a recent 30-day period said that reading his employer response solidified their decision to accept the job offer. So this is insane. Like, whether or not you respond to reviews can literally be a deciding factor in whether or not a candidate comes to work at your company. So if that doesn't show you the power, I'm not sure if I know what will, but just take a minute to think about how this could benefit your company as a recruiting advantage. And here's an example of Spencer's response. You know, he thanks the person, he recognizes that their job is really hard, but he also kind of stands up to, you know, what Zillow means to him, and, you know, he offers praise for that as well. Tip number 3, keeping things moving, address specific issues. So in the Employer Center, which I've touched on, we offer a word cloud to our clients that crawls the feedback left on your site, and it inflates the size of the word based on how many times it's mentioned. So this gives anyone in HR, recruiting, talent acquisition, the opportunity to quickly scan employee sentiment and kind of see what's going on in the company to use this feedback as both pros and cons. So this is really awesome. And like we always say, you know, nobody is perfect. We all know that. No company is perfect. Glassdoor isn't even perfect, despite what you may think. Just kidding. We have our fair share of things that can be improved, and, you know, our CEO, Robert, really values this feedback. He asks us all the time, you know, it's that time of the year, leave feedback on Glassdoor, time to practice what we preach. And occasionally there will be negative reviews on there. So even negative reviews give the company an opportunity to show their authenticity and show that they care and put together an action plan. So think about it this way. Consider this kind of free advice on how to make your company better. And being receptive to this and giving the reviewer a sense of ownership will do just that, make your company better. So the trick is definitely to kind of shift your thinking to realize, you know, what bad reviews are providing you. They're giving you that transparent look at what it's really like to work at your company. So I always like to say kind of embrace the bad as you would with the good. So here's another case study. I'll just quickly run through these. I know I want to keep this short for you guys, but don't be discouraged by a bad review. Recognize that they happen, and this is an opportunity to bond with employees and candidates. So take this constructive feedback to heart. Don't go on the defense, you know. So here's an example from 1-800-CONTACT. There was a negative review. The director, right here, the director of software engineering responded back. It allowed him, you know, to have this open and transparent conversation and gave the employee the chance to be heard. So in my opinion, I don't think this director came off as defensive, but rather took the time to really carefully craft a specific note back to this person. And it really just showed that he recognized the frustrations and the growing pains and took this opportunity to explain positive steps into what the company is doing to make it better. Tip number 4, be authentic. We've harped on this so much, but set expectations up front by being authentic. Don't be staged. Don't be perfect. Today's candidates want transparency. They want to know what they're in for. We don't want them to end up with buyer's remorse when they come to your new job and end up, you know, leaving 30 days later. And this is a stat that kind of supports that. So it's even more important is 61% of employees say that new job realities differ than expectations set during the interview process. So they're coming into a company that maybe kind of positioned itself as perfect, and it's not. And job seekers recognize that. They want that. They crave the authenticity and want to know exactly what they're getting themselves into. So sound like a human when you respond and not a robot. A company that does a great job of this is Loan Depot. You can see that little finger is pointing to how many people in a short period of time clicked that helpful to job seekers button. They take the time. They take the time and tailor their responses to each response in an authentic way. This also addresses specifics of the review and also state solutions too in place of what they're working on. So I like how these generally close with a genuine expression of how they really appreciate it. They're great at doing this. So keep this in mind. You know, it's not terrible for people to know your pros and cons. Job seekers, they want to be able to self-select out of applying for your company before you hire them if it's not for them. They're seeking and desiring that information. All right, last tip. Utilize these reviews to fix problems. Don't just address them. Don't just see, what they are. Actually use them. Use them to find issues and problem areas in your company and put an action plan in to fix them. And last example of a company that did this great. Lithium Technologies, they do a great job thanking the employee that wrote the review. They acknowledge they aren't perfect. They address items that are brought up in the review. As you can see, this is another CEO response. They state that they're working to fix problems and how they want employees to feel when working there. So this just really reiterates the company's values. It gives them an authentic, genuine response. For anybody reading it, you kind of just get the warm and fuzzy because you see that the CEO took some time, and I love this one as well. So actually use those reviews to identify problems within your company. I can't stress the importance of this enough. And lastly, you guys, I want to wrap up with some of the benefits of responding. If you haven't heard enough, here's one last one. Open Company is a relatively new program at Glassdoor, and it basically offers you the chance to show that you are really embracing feedback. You're truly giving candidates an inside look at what it's like to work in your company. And all you have to do to become an open company is 5 steps. So you can see them on the bottom of your screen. So you just have to update your basic company info. You need to get a couple reviews if you don't already have them. Depending on the size of your company, we'll tell you how many reviews that is. You need to add a couple photos, show that you want to give people an actual look at what your office is like and maybe some fun events you do or volunteer activities. And you need to respond to reviews. There's a minimum amount, but if you just start engaging and showing that you care, this should come pretty naturally. And then lastly, promote your profile. So whether that be on your careers page, in your signature, or anywhere on your site, just promote your profile to job seekers that may like to get a deeper dive into what it's like to work at your company. So if you do all of these 5 things, you will get a nice little green check mark like you see in the Open Company logo. You will get that Open Company logo on your profile on Glassdoor. And, job seekers really look for this. They want to see the companies that have taken the time to update their profile and show them what it's like to work there. So this is a big deal. And then, as always, if you have any information or want to find out more, we have amazing resources that address different things like reviews and sometimes employee engagement and, candidate experience and how you can post your jobs on Glassdoor. All that good stuff is found at employers.glassdoor.com. So that is it. That is what I wanted to talk with you all about. I'm going to open it up for a couple questions and get to as many as humanly possible. We have about 5 minutes, but as always, I'm here for you. I'd love to be a resource for you. If you would like to email me, feel free. If you need to talk to someone in sales, feel free. I'll connect you to the right person in the company. So if I don't get to your question, just go ahead and email it to me, and I'll connect you with the right person. All right, so let me pull up a couple questions here. I want to also reiterate, there's a couple already, that that we will share these materials today as soon as possible. So this afternoon you should receive a follow-up email with all this info. All right, let's see. Here's a good one. Okay, can employers edit their response once they've been posted? You cannot. So be sure to check grammar and spelling, all that good stuff. We talked about that. So that's a big one. Sometimes people then think they could throw a response in there, but be careful. Make sure that you are putting in the response that you want to stay up there as long as possible. All right, let's see. Can the original poster respond to the employer's response? So that's a no. At Glassdoor, we want both the employee and employer to have a voice, but we don't want this to become a battle back and forth. We want to make sure that you get your one review and your one response, and if the conversation needs to go further, give them an email alias to find you at if you want to continue that conversation offline. Can you ask employees to write good reviews for you? That's a great question. You can always encourage them to post feedback on Glassdoor, and we really support that. Encourage your company to join the conversation, your employees to join the conversation. However, we do not encourage incentivizing, specifically for positive reviews, because those reviews are subject to removal. We want people to leave accurate information. That's the bottom line. We want them to be able to feel that they have a form that they can be truthful and honest. We have a great ebook about how you can ask your employees to leave honest reviews, so I would definitely check that out on our site. All right. How does a paid employer account different from a free account? Okay, so with a free employer account, you can make very basic edits to your company profile. You can respond to employer reviews. You can access some very basic reporting and monitor your brand. But with our paid package of job advertisements and the profile, you can really make the most out of all of our employer branding tools and all of our job advertising tools. There's some amazing, amazing stuff in there. You can have a why work for us section. You can have a direct feed to your social media and your jobs. There's some great stuff in there. There's also really robust analytics that are amazing. So, yeah, that's kind of how they differ. If you want more information on how to upgrade your profile, I can absolutely help you out there. Is there a cost to becoming an open company? No, actually. The open company program is free. We offer it for paying and non-paying clients. So I really encourage you all to go and check out your employer center. And if you can't log into your employer center, make sure you sign up for a free employer account on our site. There should be a million links everywhere. But if you can't find it or you need help or assistance, just email me and I'll get you in touch with the correct people. Let's see. There's one about having different people or job titles within the company respond to reviews. Of course, we recommend that marketing, PR, HR, CEO, VP of sales, whoever that person is, they should all get involved with responding to reviews. It's a team effort, and we want everybody to feel like maybe the executive in their department is taking time. Let's see. Somebody asked if there's a benefit in responding to a positive review, and absolutely. I don't want you to go away from this webinar thinking you should only respond to negative reviews, because that's not the case. This webinar just so happened to focus on negative reviews to kind of coach people on how to deal with those, but the same exact rules apply for positive reviews. Absolutely respond to people. The same thing, it shows that you care. It shows that you want to engage with them. Praise them for leaving a great review. If they love working here, you should reply and let them know that you love to hear their feedback. Let's see. Do you recommend responding to older reviews? Absolutely. I would start, so there's different ways that you can filter reviews on your site. And I would start with maybe the most recent. If you haven't been responding to reviews, kind of start with the most recent, but then kind of travel back a little bit. See what people are saying. If you went through a huge company or organizational change and that kind of influenced some of your reviews, you could still respond to those. You absolutely have that opportunity. So travel back a little bit down back in time with your reviews, but I would recommend starting with the most recent, because that seems like it would be, the most current pulse of what it's like to work at your company. So start there, but absolutely respond to older. Let's see, I think we have time for one more. Okay, so common is flagged, what does Glassdoor do? So as I mentioned, you can absolutely take a look at our community guidelines that are posted on our employers.glassdoor.com site. I believe it's under the Clients tab. But basically what happens, and not a lot of people know this, when somebody goes to post a review, they don't just post it and it's automatically posted. It goes through a set of technology that crawls it for certain words, for any, cursing, or if you call out somebody's name, that's below the C-suite. things like that. It then goes to our content team. So we have a set of eyes, human eyes, that reads every single piece of content that's lost on our site. So rest assured, it's going through technology, but it is also seen by somebody that works on our team. And sometimes, things do slip by. They slip by and through the cracks. So if there's something that you see, definitely feel free. If you see the review, underneath there's a little button that says flag, and then it has an actual little picture of a flag. When you flag that, it'll go straight back to our content team. They will then revisit it, look at it, hold it up against the guidelines, make sure it, deserves to stay posted. And I will tell you, 90% of the time they do stay posted, but if things slip through the cracks, they will absolutely take it down if it does not meet our guidelines. So that's a great question. All right, I am 1 minute over. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. I hope you got those 1 or 2 tips that you can go back, start responding, get that FBA, join the conversation. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to come to this webinar today, and hopefully we see you on another upcoming Glassdoor webinar. And as I said, we will give you the materials as soon as possible this afternoon, actually. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.